you have a round of applause for James, please?
Thanks. And thank you for that very capable fill-in of my IT incompetence. Good morning. And thanks also for introducing me. So I'll just skip over any details about me because I think Chris has pretty much covered that. I run Berkshire Bitcoiners. I'm from Reading, and I'm professionally qualified as an accountant. So what I've come to talk about today is my involvement and the general involvement in the UK of this educational curriculum called Mi Primer Bitcoin in Spanish, which is my first Bitcoin for England. This hails from El Salvador, where it is today being taught in a large number of secondary schools as part of the standard curriculum. So in El Salvador, their next generation are now being educated en masse in Bitcoin. And the reason for mine and other people's involvement in this in the UK is to try and give our next generation the equivalent sort of hope. So, topics we'll cover. Who's involved? What we're doing. A deep dive on what I personally have been doing in Berkshire since I did the teacher training. And how can you get involved? So, first up, stop laughing at the back and pay attention. We have Matt Hall, who is head of Next Gen at Bitcoin Policy UK. Just drinking his first beer of the day, like every good teacher. Well, yeah. Hence why he looks a lot smarter in that photo than he does today as well. He's on vacation. Yeah. Welcome, Matt. Then we have Huxley, who isn't here today because he's also a teacher, an active secondary teacher. He's on holiday in Brazil. So if you're a Bitcoin teacher, maybe the world's a more accessible place than if you're just a regular teacher. That's Bitcoin for you. So he runs, he effectively coordinates what's happening, and he was the first teacher in the UK that we know of. Because sometimes people are doing things and you just find out about it randomly and they come out of nowhere. He's a geography teacher in Kent, and he's just been teaching the third cohort of this curriculum in a grammar school in which he teaches in Kent. So he just got off and did that off his own back a couple of years ago. And so he's now the kind of most experienced, and he leads the teacher training. And so I was on the cohort 1 with a bunch of other Bitcoiners, and we were taught to be teachers of this curriculum by him. And then we've got the team at Mi Primer Bitcoin in El Salvador itself. There's a few pictures of the team over there. There are many, many more people than that involved, but they were just some key figures who we are personally interacting with. So there's me and half a dozen other cohort 1 teachers who are now teaching, and Matt was actually one of the first cohort of teachers as well. There are 6 new teachers who were trained just 2 weeks ago in cohort 2, and that includes here Chris, who's our MC for the day, and also Simon, who was speaking before. So half a dozen new teachers went through the training 2 weeks ago, and then we've got 11 Bitcoiners already signed up for cohort 3, and that's planned for July, including someone who will be speaking later. And apologies if I've missed anyone else who is signed up, and I got you on the list, but I just don't know that you're here. But I think Victoria, we signed you up, didn't we, after the interview the other day? So Victoria's on the list. So what we're doing, we're training and supporting teachers, developing and sharing pitch materials into schools, educational materials and activities, and the materials that go to support those classroom activities. We're teaching in schools and in the community, and we're pitching courses to schools and communities. And we're fundraising to support basic equipment for the schools. So personally, what I've done since training about 6 months ago is I've delivered the first community course. I delivered the last class on that just before Easter. And I'm delivering that from a local pub that takes Bitcoin, and the manager there said, why don't you come in and do a course for the community in a little village near Reading. So that's what I've been doing every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock at the Volunteer Pub in Thiel near Reading. You'll find me pretty much standing like this with the same laptop, but my own projector and a slightly smaller screen, and teaching the Me Premier course to anyone who's interested in the community. I've pitched to 2 local schools. In fact, I did an intro class with one of the schools before the headmaster suspended me. But it's not as bad as that. I've not been expelled. I've just been suspended. And I'm talking. What that's led to is a much deeper conversation about the business opportunity for that school to become a global Bitcoin school. So we've gone beyond just teaching a cohort straight to actually, I want to talk about the treasury. I want to talk about the senior management team. I want all the teachers potentially to understand this so that they know what's being taught. And then, yes, okay, we'll teach the students too. Obviously, that's going to take some time. So, as I say, I'm hopeful that it's just a suspension and not an expulsion. But there's another school that I've pitched to just before Easter. I'm very excited about that as well. So I personally have been developing a business version of the curriculum, working with Hector, who one of the photos on the slide before, from Me Premier Bitcoin. He's based in Miami, and a few others. A guy called Adam, who is also on that previous one. He's based in El Salvador. A guy in Ireland, another guy in the UK. We're working together to develop a business version of the Me Premier Bitcoin course. So taking out some of the stuff from the sort of main course and then adding in modules that are more focused on the corporate world. So, and I basically this kind of emerged because having trained as a teacher, I suddenly thought, yeah, but I'm an accountant and I'm used to working in the corporate world. I've done lots of professional training and I'm a member of an institute. Can't we take that curriculum and make it more business focused? So I'm actively working on developing that curriculum right now. It's all be open source. It'll all be on GitHub for use across the world. And I've actually reached out to the institute I'm a member of, which is CIMA, the Chartered Institute of Management Accounting. And I've already delivered in January a SCMA network breakfast. That was an online delivery where senior accountants came together for a networking breakfast, and I pitched about Bitcoin based on the risk analysis. So if you're a business, if you're a corporate and you haven't got Bitcoin on your risk register, I think that you are failing in your duty to manage risk in your business. In other words, the pitch is, if you're a corporate, you must have Bitcoin, the rise of Bitcoin on your risk register, and you must keep tabs on it because of how it's going to affect or may affect. That's the point of risk. We don't know exactly what or when, but you need to be monitoring that. And it's a bit of a Trojan horse because the idea is if you agree that you need to be monitoring it, well, you need to have someone in your finance or risk function, at least one person who understands what it is. Otherwise, they can't possibly analyze the likelihood or impact on your markets, your products, your internal processes, your financials, unless they actually have a vague idea what Bitcoin is. So it's actually a kind of Trojan horse to professional education in Bitcoin. And I'm also going to be speaking at an in-person conference, the CIMA conference in London in May. So I've been invited to talk about Bitcoin. And if any of you are accountants or you have accountants, please direct them to come and attend. It'd be great to have a few kind of people there of moral support, not just throw me into the lions on my own. I very much appreciate it. So how can you get involved? Firstly, you can sign up to join a teacher training cohort. You can encourage other Bitcoiners to sign up. You can send a pitch letter to speak to us. We'll help you with that. To your kids' schools, organise a location and attendees for a community course. So you can do all of these things. Some of them will take more of your time. Some of them will take less. Some people will be happy going into a school to teach. Other people will feel, I'm not really comfortable with that situation. For instance, after I'd had the training, I went to Huxley's school in Kent, and I co-taught with him with one of his classes, and that kind of reintroduced me to that kind of classroom environment and running activities. And so that kind of support can be given by existing teachers to new teachers. And if you're an accountant, as I say, attend the SEMA conference in May, and or send your own accountant along. Okay, so that's it. I hope I've kept that nice and short so that we've caught up for all the IT glitches. Any questions? Anybody who would consider joining a teacher training cohort? Anybody who would consider pitching to their school? Okay, well, come and see me afterwards, and we'll get you added to the list, and then you'll be emailed about the course in July. That'll be fantastic. Thanks.
Thanks, James. Thank you very much. I have a couple of questions, James. So if someone is interested here or on the stream, do they get in contact with you, or is there a UK node? Do they get in contact with Huxley? How and who do they get in contact with?
I think to keep it easy here, just get in touch with me, DM me at Bitcoinshire. So that's there. Or there's a QR code there of my LinkedIn, which you're more than happy for you to, it's probably best up there, more than happy for you to scan that QR code if you want to send me a LinkedIn invite. Or if you forget the Bitcoin Shire, I'm a partner in Bridge to Bitcoin, director in Laser Eyes Cards. So there are all of those routes to get hold of me. Probably Twitter DM is the easiest.
Thanks. And how long is the course for? So when you deliver it to the children at the schools, is this a weekend course or is this a year-long course? And what do they get at the end? Do they get a GCSE? Do they get an A-level? A master's degree like yourself?
I haven't got a master's degree in Bitcoin. I did a research master's on Bitcoin and gold. So I told them, they didn't tell me. So yeah, thank you. So it's a good question. It's about 12 lessons. Now that could flex to 11 or 13 depending on how fast each lesson goes. But say 12 lessons of about an hour. Realistically, by the time you've answered all the other questions and the follow-ups, etc., is probably an hour and a half each lesson. At the end, if people have completed that course in a student environment, so as opposed to a community course, the students get a choice at the end. There's sort of ongoing assessments and online assessments after each class to make sure that they've understood the last class, what's called a formative assessment. And then at the end, they get to do a project in a medium of their own choice, or they can do a longer online assessment. If they're the kind of person like me who didn't really want to go anywhere near the art class, I'll just go online and answer the questions. But if you don't like that and you want to actually do a film or some form of art project, or even write an essay or something, then that's just at the student's choice. Then they can be awarded the diploma in Bitcoin certificate. Okay.
Fantastic.
So then that diploma is open to adults too, but it's inside the school environment. Students are more used to having that process to an award. So that's why we do it like that. It's also then something that they can put on their university application or talk to employers about. And whilst you might want to think about is that beneficial or not, given the way that some people may view that, have a mind to the education itself is really the most important thing rather than the certificate. If we can create a next generation of students who are aware of what Bitcoin is, understand the difference between Bitcoin and shitcoins, to use Bitcoin University's nice little polite version of the word, then we're making them better educated, better able to be independent, better able to avoid the scams that will inevitably come their way. So I'd say it's kind of a duty of care.
Fantastic.
Really, to make sure that they know this.
And what is the cost to the schools? So if we're sending in a trained Bitcoin teacher, is there a fee for the schools?
No, it's all free. It's all free. And so far, the schools that I have been in, they've been very happy to print, for instance, the textbook, the PDF, which is on GitHub. You can just download it. They've been very happy to produce the sort of that material. But all of the all of the stuff like hardware wallets for demonstration purposes, SATs for free for handing out to the students to get them started, node building, because in the last lesson we actually teach the students how to build a node from scratch. All of those things are supplied via this group headed up by Matt Hall and Huxley. There, as I say, there's a bit of fundraising in some of the activities, and there'll be some more news on that in the not too distant future. A more formalised way of tax efficiently being able to support this initiative. Yeah,
fantastic. So that's really interesting. That's really exciting from my perspective. We're getting the next generation, or this up and coming generation, educated in Bitcoin, and the potential huge positive effects it can have on the world. You insinuated what we could do for people who aren't at school, so adults here. Hopefully there'll be some community courses popping up soon, like you're running. And you also alluding earlier when you were talking about you're putting on SEMA presentations and so on. So is there something on the horizon where there might be a corporate package potentially for anyone who's got large organizations? You think, oh, actually, my staff need to know about Bitcoin. Is there something on the shelf that we can send them to?
So it's not on the shelf at the moment. As I say, we're building that course. I did start building it on my own, and then I found that there were other people around the world who wanted to kind of work together, and eventually we ended up formally under the kind of umbrella of the Me Premier initiative. So the people I'm working with, a couple of them are actually, one's in El Salvador, one's in Miami, and a couple of others, but we're kind of formally under there now, helping to develop that corporate package. If a corporation listens to one of my pitches and then says, actually, we need to get some corporate training done in our organization, I get this, we need to have an IRIS register, we'll develop it very quickly. So it will be done. Yeah, it will be done.
What's our sort of timeline that we're looking at when there might be something?
There might be actually something on the shelf. I suspect that without that pressure of having someone who's breaking down the door saying, I need it, we're probably talking 3 to 6 months, something like that, because they are developing quite a few modules to address specific markets and how Bitcoin might affect that market, looking at specific industries, looking at internal operations in some areas like payments or banking or treasury management. So there are a number of key sort of areas that were drawn out that aren't really covered in the baseline curriculum for schools, but where we think we can build a kind of package of. It's kind of like doing a professional exam question. Here's this new technology. How might it affect this market? One of your questions in your sort of final accountancy exams might be write an essay. Spend an hour writing an essay. It's kind of like that, but developing it obviously in more than an hour so that it's teachable. So yeah, 3 to 6 months. But if we get corporates coming quicker, we'll deliver it however quick it needs to be done. Yeah.
So the message I'm hearing from James is go round some big corporates and pressure them to make some inquiries to James, and he will deliver something soon. So I find that really exciting as well. So we've got Me Premier they built an education package for this next generation, as I say, but we've got some corporate packages coming out soon. So there's no escaping Bitcoin. It's coming, people. So if you are involved in a company, who do you think the best person to ask in a company or pitch this to? So if someone works for a large corporation, would it be not the CEO? Would it be the FD rather? Who should they approach to say, I think we should do this?
So I would say that it's anybody with a role that's senior enough to be strategic. So that's clearly C-suite, board level people, maybe the step below that in any function, and then anyone at a sort of managerial level in finance or in risk. So those would be your sort of, because the pitch is, this is a risk that you need to monitor. We're not saying you need to start accepting Bitcoin tomorrow. We're not saying you need to convert your treasury to Bitcoin. We're not saying you need to turn it to a unit of account. What we're saying, because we don't know your business, we know Bitcoin. What we're saying is, these are the things that we think might happen. Right? We think they will happen, right? But we'll go with might because this is a conversation, a two-way conversation. For sure, they are not zero probability, right? And the impact of some of these is almost existential in some industries and will be massively transformative in others. If the probability is not zero, then you must have it on your risk register. Yes, you might say, is it a 3 to 5 year likelihood? Is it a 10-year likelihood? That's for you to determine. You know your business, but you don't know Bitcoin yet. That's where you need someone in your organization who does, so that they can do that analysis whilst they also understand your organization and its strategies. That's why it's so important. So that's the conversation that you need to have at a senior level. Fantastic.